Another year has passed, which means another state of the collection. Now I'll start with the straps here, kind of move my way into this middle section, then finish off with those two. No real particular order here, but I do have darker dials at the top, a bit of color through the middle, and just the white dials down here. Starting off with this watch, this is the Junghans Maxbill Edition 60. And if I'm honest, this watch sees more wrist time on my wife's wrist than mine, and I can't blame her. The dial is extremely clean and it does have a bit of color to just add a bit of that interest, but it's not overbearing at all. You can see that touch of orange just works extremely well with that white dial. And this strap here isn't the original strap, but I have it on this black strap because the case there is black, and I feel like the black strap with the black case just gives it a more clean look and makes the watch a lot more elegant. And you can see here I did add some extra holes to the strap so that she could wear it, and you can see it definitely sees a lot of wear on her wrist. Now here it is on my wrist and it fits great. The watch is a great size, and the black strap and that black case just works so well together with that white dial, and you can see that touch of orange at the 12 o'clock and the hands coming through nicely. Next watch is the Seagull 1963 Chronograph, and this watch here is one that surprised me quite a bit. It is a very affordable timepiece. Now this isn't the, I guess, official Seagull watch. This is the one from AliExpress, but it's still a fantastic watch. And if you just look at it, it's very unique and it's very true to that Chinese heritage. Now the dial does offer a very unique look, but one of the best things about this watch is the case back. Now here we get a display case back and we get to see that gorgeous chronograph movement, and this alone is kind of what sold me on the watch. It's a very affordable watch, and if you're looking for one with an absolutely gorgeous mechanical movement, this one is pretty up there. I mean, for the price, you get all of that watchmaking goodness there, all the gears and finishing. It's really hard to beat. Here it is on my wrist, and while the NATO strap isn't the most comfortable, it works, and the size of the watch itself is great, and that chronograph function is just fun to have. I'm sure a lot of people will be familiar with this next one, the Casio F-91W, an absolute legend of a watch, and the watch that still gives me the most nostalgia. I always talk about nostalgia when I talk about this watch, and it's just so good. I mean, look at all the retro goodness. You get all of these colors to give it that touch of fun, but it's also quite low key because it is all black, and I just love this watch so much. My most affordable watch, and my dad also had this watch when I was growing up, so I do have that sentimental attachment to this piece, and this watch is the one I use most at the gym because of that stopwatch feature. So I can just time my sets easily, very comfortable watch, and it just works for me. Here it is on wrist, nice compact size, and I do get a bit of issues with wearability on this 12 o'clock side, but other than that, no real complaints. Strap is comfortable, lightweight, and it looks great. The next watch is this Kuoe Kyoto Sombrero. Now this watch here is, I guess, not your typical diver because it does have the bezel underneath the crystal there, so you do get that double crown architecture, and I really like that double crown look. It gives you that different look when it comes to a diver, but what I really love about this watch is it has this hybrid look of a field watch and a dive watch, and that's what makes this watch so versatile to me. Usually when you think of dive watches, they generally tend to lean towards more of that diver functionality, but the way they've incorporated the numerals here with that field watch handset it really gives it just this field watch aesthetic, but you also get that diver notion from it because of that bezel there. Here it is on wrist, and the watch is very comfortable. Now you can see by the bracelet, I went for this 3-link curved bracelet, but they do offer the 5-link bracelet. Now I opted for this one because it does give it more of that rugged tool watch element, and just also fits with that field watch aesthetic that I love so much from this specific watch. You're getting that diver look and field watch look. Next watch is the Seiko SPB 453. One of my favorite releases from Seiko of recent, and I'm sure a lot of you can relate as to why, because it is that classic 62 MAS architecture and format, but it's a black on black monochrome Seiko diver, which is something that can be hard to find these days, especially in a great fitting size like this one. Now, what I also like about this watch is it is a little more updated and streamlined from that previous generation. They've kind of fine-tuned the watch. They didn't do any drastic changes, just really toning things down and dialing things in to just develop and make that form a little better. Here it is on the wrist, and this watch has seen a lot of wrist time this year. I've worn this to a lot of places. I've worn it a lot in the water when I'm at the beach or in the swimming pool, and I just really enjoy wearing this watch. And I always tell people I think it's like Seiko's Submariner. Next up is the Rolex Air-King 126900. Now, for those of you who don't know, this was my first Rolex, and this is my favorite Rolex. Green is my favorite color, and you can see it has that green on the second hand as well as green in that Rolex logo. Let me move these hands a bit so you can take a better look. So we can see what really sets this watch apart is basically its quirkiness. It's a Rolex watch, but it's sort of the most non-Rolex Rolex, but it has that Rolex color to it in the logo, and it's the only one with those colors, which makes this such a special piece. And the numeral layout of the dial is actually one I quite like, because when I tell the time, I like to tell the time using minutes. I don't really focus too much on the hours, so just having that 5-minute scale is really quite useful to me. Here it is on wrist, and that oyster bracelet is very comfortable, but the watch head itself, or the case, isn't really that comfortable. We can see the way Rolex watches are made, they're rather flat, and here I have some gaps right underneath the case near the lugs, which does sort of ruin the wearability, but I don't really notice it all that much. But it's because I am quite used to the way Rolex wears now. But yeah, not the best wearing watch, but I wouldn't say it's uncomfortable at all. So still a fantastic timepiece. Next watch is the Sinn 356 Chronograph. Now, this watch has basically kept me away from adding more chronographs to the collection besides the Seagull 1963. But the looks and aesthetics of this watch are just so up my alley. I love numerals. I love that classic look. It's very understated with a matte black dial, and the chronograph layout itself is quite interesting to me. I really like how the logo is at this 3 o'clock position, so that chronograph hand doesn't obstruct it when it's not in use, and just the compact size of this chronograph is what makes this so enjoyable to me, because it wears really well on my wrist. It also has a display case back, and you can see it is a chronograph movement with a rotor, which does add to the thickness of this watch. And it is a thick watch and it does wear thick, but me personally, I don't mind that thickness at all. Here it is on my wrist. I just love the way this watch looks, and You can see I have it on the fine link bracelet. I did get this originally with the H link, but I personally think the fine link suits it a lot more because you get more of that pilot watch look, and this is a pilot's watch. Next up, we have this Seiko 5 with this gorgeous deep blue dial hiding a Seiko 5 shield motif, and this little watch here is such a Seiko hidden gem. Now, whenever I see this dial, I kind of get this like Grand Seiko vibe from it, because there are some Grand Seiko dials with their motif spread across that dial, but here you're getting it on a Seiko 5, and this is a very affordable timepiece, but it can be a little difficult to find, especially as they're getting much older. Now here, this isn't the original bracelet, and nor is it the original crystal, because this watch originally comes with that Hardlex crystal, but I've modded it with a sapphire for that scratch resistance, and I've swapped out the bracelet for this Uncle Straps President style bracelet here, because I think it sort of matches the case a lot better, and having that less of a busy bracelet kind of puts more emphasis on the watch head itself, and I like to have that dial as the main star of the show. But I like how it also just hides that motif when it's not under some harsh light. So a very unique and great looking watch from Seiko, and I really want them to sort of come back to this era of Seiko where they were having a lot of fun with their designs and dials. On the wrist, you can see it's a great fitting watch, and it's a very comfortable watch. Now, a downside of this watch is the movement is not hacking, and you can't hand wind it. So if you want to wind this, you're gonna have to shake it up, and if you want to time it, you might find difficulties because that second hand will not stop. Next watch is a watch some of you may be familiar with if you're a long-time viewer of the channel. This is my Omega Aqua Terra 41 with the olive green dial. This watch was my first luxury watch purchase, and usually I wear it on the rubber strap that I bought for the watch, but here I have it on the bracelet because I've been wearing it on the bracelet a lot more recently, and I'm just trying to enjoy this watch as much as I can, because I am contemplating on getting the 38mm version, but I'm still very undecided because I still love this watch so much. I have a lot of history with this watch, and it's honestly been through a lot with me. I've taken it to a lot of places, it's been to many events, and it's sort of kickstarted the YouTube channel. Here it is on wrist, and that olive green dial is still to this day my favorite dial that Omega makes, and if I do end up getting the 38mm, it will be in this same dial, but I still think it wears quite well for its size. I have a 6.5-inch wrist, and this is the 41mm variant, so I think it still fits okay, but the 38 definitely will fit a lot better. But I don't know, I still really enjoy this watch. Let me know what you think. Next watch is the Rolex Batgirl. Now this watch here is probably my go-to for special events, because it does have that Rolex prestige behind it. As cliche as it is, just having that Rolex name is quite impactful in certain situations, and the look of it, you can't really fault the GMT Master 2. It's a great looking watch, and I got this one because my brother is a big fan of Batman, so this one just reminds me of him, so I do have that sentimental attachment to this watch, and I think it is just a great layout. You can't really go wrong with a blue and black watch. It gives you that pop of color, but still remains quite neutral in a way. On the wrist, you can see that blue really just stands out a lot, and the Jubilee bracelet is one of the most comfortable bracelets I've worn. Not the most comfortable, but one of them. Now, of course, it still has that same Rolex issue, just like on the Air-King. That flat slab sides gives me that gap issue on the tip of the lugs. So if you do have smaller wrists, you will have that issue as well. If you have larger wrists, not so much, because you'll be able to fill out those sections there. But other than that, it is a great wearing watch, very comfortable, and it just looks great. It has that iconic Rolex look to it. All right, this watch here is the Seiko SPB 435. This is the Thailand limited edition Bamboo Grove. Now, this watch here, if you look at the dial, it is very, very Grand Seiko-esque. It's vibrant, filled with textures, and the textures here and detail here are very intricate. And if I'm not mistaken, I think I've seen this type of dial on a Grand Seiko before, so something's definitely going on. But this watch here, it's just such a great looking watch. Now again, green is my favorite color, and as soon as I saw them release this, I knew I wanted to have it. So I did fly to Thailand for a holiday, but I did want to hunt down this watch, and I was able to get one. And it's just such a fantastic watch. It is in that popular alpinist format as well. You're getting 200 meters of water resistance, and this watch has seen time in the water. Now, something I want to tell you about this watch, you can see it does have these pretty harsh scuffs right around the lug area. Now, when I was up in Queensland, I was wearing my King Turtle, but my wife was wearing this watch, and we were in the swimming pool, and she was trying to do as many, I guess, somersaults as she could, and I think she grazed sort of the sidewall of the pool, so it did leave a bit of marks, but a good memory. And you know, these scratches, while they are kind of like blemishes on the case itself, I'm not too fussed about it, as I can always look back and tell a story about these scratches. And I don't plan to let go of this watch anyway, so it will be gathering a lot more wear and scratches over time. Here it is on the wrist. It's a great size, a very comfortable watch, and that dial just pops so much on the wrist. It's such a vibrant green, a great looking green, and the textures on the dial there are just so mesmerizing to look at. Now, I am interested in other bracelet options for this watch. I don't mind the bracelet at all, but I would like to sort of experiment with other bracelets. So if you know of any bracelets that fit this watch, feel free to put them in the comments and I will give them a try. Next watch is another GMT Master 2. This is the iconic Rolex Pepsi. This watch here, I see it as the best modern Rolex. You're getting the Cyclops lens, Jubilee bracelets, a GMT Master 2 format that kind of gives you that same Submariner-esque look, but I guess a bit more flashy. The Jubilee element from the date just. It's just such a great looking watch. The blue and red bezel, unmistakable, super iconic, and really does pop quite a bit. The red sort of gives it a separating and differentiating look compared to the Batgirl, and that red there just gives it this more aggressive feeling to me that makes it look different to the Batgirl. So that's why I have both of them in the collection. To me, they offer two different looks, and while they are essentially the same watch, I feel like the two can coexist in a single collection. Here it is on wrist. It will wear the same as the Batgirl, and of course it is a Rolex, so you do get that flat case issue, and it is just that iconic watch. Admittedly, I do wear the Batgirl a lot more, but the GMT Master 2 Pepsi, you can't really go wrong with. And this is the Rolex I would recommend if I were to only recommend one. However, it's not my favorites. The Air-King is my favorite Rolex, and I personally prefer the Batgirl over this Pepsi. But in my opinion, this is the best modern Rolex. The next watch is the Orient Mako 40 in this gorgeous red dial. Now, I've always been a fan of Orient watches, but I've never really owned one of their watches because I've never really pulled the trigger on one. I've always liked their designs and the way their watches looked, but the sizing was always a little off for me when it came to their Komatsu and other Mako lines. But when I saw them release the Mako 40, the size made a lot of sense to me, and the design of it, the architecture, was still that Orient-esque diver, so I had to get one. Now, this isn't my first Orient Mako 40. I did have the previous Japan limited edition dial, but I eventually moved that one along and picked up this red dial, because when I think of Orient, I think of red, and that's because if I move this hand out of the way, Orient has a touch of red on their logo, and I really like the Orient logo. I've always been a fan of it, and that touch of red has always caught my attention. And if I think back to Orient watches, they always do red so well. And so when I saw the Mako 40 come out with a red dial, I knew it was going to look great, and it does. Now, the Mako 40s, when they were initially released, they did have that issue with one of the indices where it was kind of misaligned with the minute track, but since then they've rectified that issue, and I really think the Mako 40 deserves a second look from a lot of people. It is a sapphire crystal, 200 meters of water resistance, with a great looking case and great looking design at a pretty reasonable, affordable price. Now on the wrist, it is a very comfortable watch. Doesn't have any crown guards, so just the crown there, nothing to really poke into your wrist. And the bracelet, while it's not the best bracelet, it works. It's still comfortable, no taper, but it's there. And I think a lot of the value comes from the watch head itself, because this watch does look great on other straps. And if you know a bracelet that fits, an aftermarket bracelet or something else, let me know, because I do want to switch out this bracelet. Now I know I have tried it on the Sinn H-Link bracelet, and that does fit, I guess, okay, but I am trying to find a bracelet that fits well with the case and will look great. So if you know one, please leave it in the comments. I will be willing to try it out. Next watch is this Citizen here. Now this was a gift to me on my birthday many years ago from my now wife. So you can blame her for fueling the watch addiction, but this one here, I always say this, but whenever I look at this watch, it's a clear example and a reminder that you don't have to spend a lot of money for a great looking watch and a textured detailed dial, because this is an affordable watch, but look at how much detail is on this dial. It really gives that white dial a lot of texture, a lot of depth, and paired with the blue Roman numerals, it's a killer combo. Blue and white is a pairing that is hard to beat, and this Roman numeral layout has actually kept me from adding more Roman numeral watches to the collection, because I really like the way they've done it here. You can see every intermediate indices is just your normal indices, and then every other one is an actual Roman numeral. So I really like that detail. It gives it this nice balance to the dial, and I think it just works with the whole composition. Now usually I wear this on a navy strap, but here I've just put it back on the bracelet, and you can see I've worn this watch a lot because I love it so much. It does have that sentimental value because it was a birthday gift to me. One of my earliest watches that I own, and I'm never getting rid of this watch. Here it is on the wrist, very comfortable. The bracelet is a little rattly, but nothing I can do about that. And I do think the bracelet does look nice with the watch itself. Now, something that is a little disappointing about this watch is it doesn't have hacking seconds. So trying to get an accurate timing on this is a little finicky. But other than that, I really enjoy this watch. And again, just that blue and white combo and all of that depth from the texture on the dial just make this a great looking watch, and it can be had for a great price. Next watch is actually the second watch that my wife bought me. Again, she bought me this one after that, many years later, but this watch is the Hamilton Khaki Field Mechanical, obviously with the white dial, and it is my favorite watch in my collection. It's one of my most affordable, not the most affordable, but it just reminds you that you don't have to spend a lot on a watch to have a great watch. And this one here, there's just something about it when I look at it. That white, clean white dial with the faux patina, it just gives you this cold yet warm look to it. And I do have it here on the original bracelet, and this is a combo that I think works well because it matches with the finishing of the case, and it's just a fantastic watch that I enjoy so much. And I've said this before, but when I was first getting into watches, I would always hear about the Hamilton Khaki Field Mechanical, and every time I would just think to myself, what's so great about it? You know, it's just a simple field watch with the printed dial. It's so standard and it's simple. There's nothing really special about it, yet so many people seem to love it. And when I got it in hand in person, yeah, I fell in love straight away. I could see the beauty in it. You know, it's beauty in simplicity. It is a simple watch, and that's pretty much all you need sometimes. There's not a lot going on with it, but that's what makes it so nice. It's purely a tool watch, but one that works so well. On the wrist, it's a very comfortable watch and very lightweight, even with the bracelet on it. Now, it does have rather long lug to lug, which isn't really an issue on my wrist, but if you have a smaller wrist, you could run into some issues. But that long lug to lug, in my opinion, is what gives the Khaki Field its iconic look. And this watch is fantastic with straps. It pairs extremely well with straps, and I do really enjoy this watch on straps. I just have it on the bracelet because I've been wearing it on the bracelet recently. And the cool thing about this bracelet is this is a field watch, but it does have an extension. So yeah, there is that. All right, next watch is a very special watch to me. This is the Credor Kuon GCLX 999. This watch is the watch I came home with after my trip to Japan. I really wanted to come home with a Japanese watch because I was heading to Japan. Now, before I went to Japan, I saw that Credor released this watch, and in my head I knew, there's probably no way I'll be able to get this watch because it was a domestic release in Japan, and it was pretty much sold out everywhere. So I went to Japan. I didn't really look specifically for this watch. I was interested in a Grand Seiko, as we all are, but I happened to stumble across this watch, not this one specifically, the one with the Roman numerals. So I inquired about the possibility of getting this one, and I eventually was able to get one. One of the boutiques was able to, I guess, order one in for me, and I went to pick it up, and I'm so glad I got this Credor instead of the Grand Seiko that I was looking at, because it makes it all the more special. You know, Credor is not a brand that a lot of people are aware of, but it's a brand that is pretty much very Japanese. It is part of the Seiko family, and that alone is also important to me because Seiko is one of the brands that really started my watch collecting journey, and to have a Credor is really just a luxury that I never imagined I would ever have. So this one, yeah, it's quite a special piece, and this one is the watch I wore to a recent watch meet, Watch Fest. So if you haven't seen that video, check it out. I wore it so that other people could also enjoy it, because I know not a lot of people will have this watch outside of Japan, and especially in Australia, where the population is, you know, rather small compared to other countries. So I really wanted other people to try it on, enjoy it, and just take a look at it. The case back here is also a sight for the eyes. So if you get bored of that rather simple dial, just turn it to the back and you get a feast of all of the finishing and beauty from that spring drive movement. Now on the wrist, this is one of my most comfortable watches in my collection. The bracelet is extremely comfortable. It's a multi-link bracelet, so of course it's going to contour with the wrist with ease, and this is an integrated bracelet, which was also one of the draws to this watch for me. It's the only integrated bracelet watch in my collection, and it's done so in quite an elegant way. Usually they're quite sporty, but this one here has more of that dressy flair to it, with that just clean porcelain dial. Next watch is the Seiko King Turtle SRPE05. Now, if you've been following the channel, you'll know that I used to have another King Turtle, the Dark Manta. I actually got rid of that in exchange for this one, and this one here, as you know, green is my favorite color, so I just had to get this watch. And I think this one here is what I think of when I think of a King Turtle, because this one, it's not a limited edition, it's not a special edition, this is just that regular release, and it's so great to see like a textured colored dial for a regular release. So I think this King Turtle here specifically is such a great value watch. You're getting a sapphire crystal, a ceramic bezel, a cyclops bar, and honestly, a very iconic Seiko case architecture. So a lot of bang for your buck here, and I really think this watch here represents sort of like this golden age of Seiko that they're sort of straying away from, and I want to see them come back to this high value watch at an affordable price. I mean, it's hard to get another Seiko like this at the price point, and this is the sort of Seiko I grew up with, you know, really affordable, rugged tool watches that could take a beating and rely on, and I've taken this pretty much everywhere. I'm not afraid of it getting beaten up because it looks and feels like a tank, and it really just exemplifies what Seiko was all about. Now here it is on the wrist. This is the largest watch in my collection, but I have to say it wears rather well for its size, because it does have a rather compact lug to lug. So despite how big it is, I don't really have an issue with it at all. The rubber strap is extremely comfortable and matches quite well with the dial, and the keeper here works rather well for me because the sort of curved structure stops it from moving up, and it keeps that extra strap length tucked in quite nicely instead of the flopping about motion you sometimes get when this side is too long. But yeah, one of my favorites watches in my collection, and this is my favorite Seiko watch. Alright, last but not least, this is a Citizen Eco Drive watch. Now this watch, very sentimental to me. This was given to me by my dad back when I was in high school, and I've told this story so many times, but back then I didn't have a watch, and my dad wanted to make sure that I was able to track the time during exams. So that's why he gave me this watch, to make sure I was on time to finish exams, because grades was basically everything growing up. So if I didn't get good grades, he'd be angry. So he wanted to make sure if you finish the exams in time, then there aren't any questions left unanswered. But yeah, I ended up just loving this watch so much, and ever since I got it, well, when I first got it, it made me so interested in watches, and it was on my wrist all the time. Now, I'd have it on this black leather strap, and this isn't some expensive leather strap at all. It's just one from AliExpress, but it works so well. It's such a clean leather strap, and I think it pairs extremely well with this watch, giving it a very clean look, and makes it quite dressy, because this watch did come originally on the bracelet, but I personally think it looks a lot better on a clean black leather strap with black stitching. Here it is on wrist, and that Eco Drive movement allows the watch to have this slim structure to it, which really does help in making it even more dressy. And that's why I love to pair it with a black leather strap for a very classic look. And it's just a very clean looking watch, and that Eco Drive I guess solar panel there just works so well with the composition of the dial for sort of like this sector dial look. There it is, guys. That's the collection. Let me know your thoughts on each watch in the comments below. I'm interested to hear your thoughts on my watches and my collection. Also, if you know of any bracelets for the SPB 435 or the Mako 40, please let me know. I'm very interested in looking at aftermarket bracelets that fit well for these watches. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing for more watch content. I'll see you in the next one.